Please remain standing for the national anthem. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, the President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, the Secretary General of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Presidents of Parliaments, Members of Parliaments, government officials, members of diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hadija Ndangizamurangwa, a senator in the Parliament of Rwanda. It is my honor to be the Master of Ceremony for this 145th Inter-Parliamentary Union Assembly with the theme, Gender Equality and Gender-Sensitive Parliaments as Drivers of Change for a More Resilient and Peaceful Future. The Assembly will facilitate exchange on good practices to make parliaments more gender-sensitive, as well as encouraging parliaments to pledge transformative action. This will provide a platform for delegates to deliberate, exchange views, and galvanize parliamentary action in this area. Without further ado, I invite the Right Honorable Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies of the Parliament of Rwanda, Madame Donatille Mukabalisa, to deliver her remarks. Right Honorable Speaker, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, Honorable President of the IPU, Honorable Secretary General of IPU, distinguished speakers of parliaments, honorable parliamentarians, distinguished officials of Rwanda, Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored by the opportunity to address this distinguished assembly. Allow me to start by extending special thanks to you, Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Rwanda, for having accepted to grace this inaugural ceremony of the Inter-Parliamentary Union Assembly with your presence, despite your busy schedule. Your Excellency, thank you very much. It gives me a great opportunity and pleasure to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the Parliament of Rwanda and myself to our distinguished guests who have traveled from all four corners of the globe to be with us here in Rwanda for the 145th Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. We are more than happy that this high-level meeting is one of the few IPU gatherings that has been possible to take place in person since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Your presence here, your contribution to the debates, as well as everyone's commitment will, with no doubt, determine the success of this assembly. Your Excellency, the Global Organization of Parliaments, IPU, works closely with the United Nations and other multilateral bodies to promote democracy, peace, and cooperation among peoples. IPU works to ensure there is a parliamentary dimension to international cooperation, global governance, as well as in the resolution of major international issues. Indeed, the primary goals of IPU are peace and democracy. IPU is committed to ensuring that women are able to participate equally in politics. Democracy means all voices are heard. The theme of this assembly, gender equality and gender-sensitive parliament as drivers of change for a more resilient and peaceful world, is a wake-up call to parliamentary institutions to reflect and take stock on current state of gender equality and see how we can change dynamics to advance gender mainstreaming in the political and economic spheres of our respective countries, as we lose a lot due to gender inequality practices. In Rwanda, promoting gender equality and women in leadership is a constitutional imperative. There is a strong political commitment at the highest level, and adequate measures are taken at all levels to boost gender equality and women political participation, as well as women empowerment. Thanks to gender-sensitive laws and policies, women of Rwanda are very active and participate equally to men in the socio-economic transformation of our country. Your Excellency, we are very appreciative of the great importance you have attached to women's inclusion in governance. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, while looking forward to a fruitful Kigali Assembly, allow me to once again sincerely thank all the delegates for having honored our invitation to attend the IPU Assembly and the trust placed in the Parliament of Rwanda to host this important event and reiterate our strong commitment to meet your expectations. We welcome you to Rwanda. Murakaza neza. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It is now my pleasure to invite the Secretary General of the IPU, Mr. Martin Chungong, to deliver his welcome remarks. Secretary General, you're welcome.
Murakoze Chani, Master of Ceremonies. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, the Right Honorable Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies of Rwanda, Right Honorable President of the Senate of Rwanda, my good friend, the President of the IPU, Duarte Pacheco, Honorable Speakers present here, ladies and gentlemen, members of Parliament, Moramwetse. For those of you who don't understand Kinyarwanda, I was just saying good morning. I wish at the very outset to extend my thanks to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for being here today with us. We really appreciate your time here, and through you, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Parliament and Government of Rwanda for hosting this assembly under such auspicious conditions. It's a matter of great personal pleasure for me to be back here in Kigali, at the heart of the dynamic, innovative, and vibrant continent of Africa. As you know, my background is in another part of this continent, but Rwanda holds a special and particular place in my heart. Indeed, throughout my career at the Inter-Parliamentary Union, we have worked closely with the Parliament of Rwanda to build one of the most forward-looking and gender-sensitive institutions among our 178 member parliaments. We have every reason to be proud of our achievements, as have been outlined by the Right Honourable Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies in her remarks. As early as in the 90s, the Inter-Parliamentary Union stood proudly next to the men and women of this great nation, this country of 1,000 hills, to support them in their noble endeavor of rebuilding after genocide. We are proud, I am proud, to have been involved in those efforts as you embarked on shaping modern-day Rwanda and endowing your country with a very forward-looking constitution that is very gender-sensitive. That constitution has taken this country to the top of the league table in numerous measures of gender equality, political participation, and women's and girls' empowerment. And I would like to commend this nation on those achievements. It is therefore no coincidence that gender equality is the main theme of this assembly. Rwanda indeed provides proof that gender equality and gender-sensitive institutions are drivers of peace and resilience. But we should make no mistake. No country can claim to have achieved full gender equality today, and no parliament can claim to be 100% gender sensitive. It would be foolhardy for us to be complacent about this. So at this assembly, we will be looking to identifying ways to accelerate progress to achieve our shared goal of gender equality and to ensure that all women and girls fully enjoy rights and freedoms on an equal footing with men and boys, allowing them to lead dignified lives free from all forms of discrimination, mistreatment, and violence, in control of their own bodies and following their own minds. As we gather here today, my native continent of Africa, regrettably so, is experiencing an epidemic of instability and coups. A sad example of this is what has just happened in Burkina Faso, which has suffered its second military coup in a year. As a community of democrats, the IPU cannot condone any assumption of power by military force. Further afield, the Sahel region is facing threats to its peace and security, becoming a hotspot of terrorism and violent extremism, as well as organized crime, alongside numerous other challenges. The IPU's call of the Sahel, which is aiming to attract new ideas and new supporters during this assembly, is meant to be our response to that dire challenge. I am sure we'll be all keen to lend our support to this endeavor. Needless to say, the tensions and conflicts simmering on the continent are undermining democratic institutions. I use this opportunity, therefore, to draw attention to our mantra, democracy for everyone. Madam Speaker, thank you for reiterating the need for everyone to have a voice in democracy. Unstable and compromised democracies are holding back the socio-political and economic development of our societies. A coup d'etat is never the appropriate response to instability or terrorism. The right of the people to freely express themselves through elections must be safeguarded above everything else. Certainly, the parliamentary community gathered here this week must continue to apply itself to addressing the devastating consequences on the global community of the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Yet, I propose that we cannot afford to overlook or move the spotlight away from the many emerging crises in the part of the world where we are gathered today, Africa. I therefore launch a clarion call for all of us to put our best foot forward and strive to identify dynamic and innovative solutions to bring back lasting peace, discourage military responses to instability, and support sustainable development throughout Africa. Parliamentarians must express solidarity with their colleagues in Africa, working to preserve security and democracy, show their support for multilateral institutions, striving for peace and harmony, give their backing to parliaments that have chosen the path of democracy and the rule of law, and ensure that parliaments across the continent always keep the best interests of their people at heart. I hereby announce that I intend to propose to the IPU's governing bodies that they consider forging a new partnership with the indigenous institutions of Africa, the African Union, the Pan-African Parliament, as well as other regional integration organizations such as the ECOWAS, CEMAC, SADC, and others, to identify together pathways for addressing Africa's chronic instability, which is seriously hampering democracy and, by extension, the well-being of the continent. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I want to use this lectern to underscore the value of dialogue as articulated by the founding fathers of our beloved organization, Frederick Passy and Randall Kramer. During this week in Kigali, I am sure that we'll all be anxious to prove our founding fathers right. We must give dialogue a chance. We must live up to their vision of deploying the full potential of parliaments and parliamentary diplomacy as a contribution to conflict resolution. My dream of this assembly is, and I mean this assembly in Kigali, is for Kigali to be remembered as the place where the global parliamentary community resolved and committed unequivocally to complement traditional diplomacy in all efforts to bring about peace to our troubled world. With that, I thank you for your attention. Murakoze Chani, Mr. President.
We thank the Secretary General for his remarks. We will now hear a recorded message by the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to greet this assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. As a proud parliamentarian myself and a former member of the Union, I know how pivotal your work is to building stronger communities and a better world. You are a crucial bridge between the local and the global. You bring people's concerns into the international arena and translate international agreements into national action. But to do so effectively, parliaments need to represent the people they serve. I commend your focus on gender equality and gender-sensitive parliaments as drivers of change. And I congratulate the host of today's assembly, Rwanda, for being the world's first country with a female majority in parliament. I urge you to raise your ambition to ensure women everywhere have the same opportunities to sit at the decision-making table as men. And I count on you to take action to better protect women in politics against the growing threat of violence. We know that when women take leadership roles in public life, governments and legislatures are more responsive and more accountable for all. We look to you to advance gender equality, including through special temporary measures to help drive change and results. That's what our world needs. To advance climate action at a scale that matches the scope of the challenge, to defend human rights and the rule of law, to mobilize resources to confront the hunger crisis and escalating humanitarian emergencies, and to promote sustainable development and deliver the 2030 agenda. Together, let us go farther and faster towards a world of peace, equality, and opportunity for all. Thank you.
The Secretary General has urged the Assembly to raise your ambition to ensure women everywhere sit at the decision-making table as men. I am now glad to invite the IPU President, Right Honorable Duarte Pacheco, to deliver his remarks. Right Honorable President, you are welcome.
Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Republic of Rwanda, it's a pleasure to have you here. Mr. President of the Senate, Madam Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, thank you so much again for the invitation to come to Kigali. Mr. Secretary General, honorable speakers of parliament from so many countries and deputy speakers that decided to attend our meeting. Dear colleagues, I always like this expression because we are all members of parliament and we are very proud of that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to address you all in this inaugural ceremony of the 145 IPU Assembly. Let me first thank the Republic of Rwanda and its parliament, and especially Madam Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies. You were amazing. The hospitality, the work you have done for weeks to receive us was amazing. You did a great job. Thank you so much, Madam. Mr. Second word, of course, needs to be to the President of the Republic. Mr. President, your presence here represents also something important for all of us, the multilateralism and the support of the governments to the multilateralism and to the parliamentarism. We came here after a strong health crisis. We should be here 2 years ago, in October 2020, but the pandemic appeared and it was not possible to come. We needed to post our meeting 2 years. In the middle time, millions of citizens, also thousands of parliamentarians dying with this pandemic. But we are here, and it represents not just that the compromise we have with the authorities of Rwanda is important for us, and so we came, but also it means the victory of humankind against the small virus that killed a lot of us. And this victory is also a victory of the cooperation between all of us. Scientists from different countries, continents, cultures, religions, work together to find the solution to the pandemic. It should be the example for us as politicians. We should always work together, because just this way we will solve the problems of humankind. And so, Mr. President, also I need to congratulate you, because the results of to fight against this pandemic shows that a country in Africa, without the resources that so many rich countries have, get what are important. And allow me to congratulate you also for the economic results achieved by your country and by the spirit of reconciliation that is possible to identify in all the persons we met, not just parliamentarians. But when we walk on the streets, we understand. Here in Rwanda, after something that is not possible to imagine in our lives, it was possible to get a reconciliation and work to have a new country, a safe country, and a healthy country. Congratulations, Mr. President. And finally, my sincere gratitude to each one of you that decides travel for so long. Some of you the travel for more than 24 hours, but you came to Rwanda, you came to Kigali to achieve the success of this assembly, because you are committed with the objectives of the organization, always work together to find solutions to the global problems of humankind. Thank you so much for your presence here in Kigali. But dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a special moment in our world. Unfortunately, we don't have the world that we are waiting for when we last met in Nusa Dua, Indonesia. The climate change is growing, and the consequences of that is killing thousands of people. The floods, impossible to believe, happened, for instance, in Pakistan, where more than 3,000 people dying a few weeks ago. Hurricanes killed people in Florida, in Philippines, in Venezuela. Heat waves and forest fires happen as never before in Europe or Australia. Deserts are growing in Africa. And with that, we have people suffering, more poverty, more inequalities. People are living worse than before. We need to do something now, not tomorrow. Today is not possible. Wait more time. People that we represent, never forget it, are tired of speech. People wish action, and we need to act now. We need to understand the feeling of the people. Otherwise, we are not doing our job. On the other hand, we saw during these months that human rights continued to be violated. In Afghanistan, where women and girls losing their rights. In Iran, where women and girls are killed just because they don't cover properly their hair. Mahsa Amini will be one example for all of us. In Myanmar, where the repression is growing, colleagues of us, members of parliament, were executed. The Committee of Human Rights of Parliamentarians never received so many cases, more than 700 from 43 countries. Terrorism subsists in Sahel. But for instance, in Mozambique, in Cabo Delgado, where murders attack innocent people, women, children, older ones, and kill them without any compassion. Migration movements persist in South America, in Mediterranean, where every day, this week, the same, people died just looking for a better life. One global economic recession is in front of us with inflation, and will bring more poverty and more inequalities again. And finally, war, conflicts, not just the forgotten war in Yemen that subsists and causes the suffering of so many people, but especially the war in Ukraine, that has a global impact and may be transformed in a global conflict. It is not possible to accept the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation. It's impossible to accept it. And it is impossible to justify the illegal annexation of territory of Ukraine by Russian Federation. Just because it's against the international law. And allow me to say, just talk, not use, just talk about the use of nuclear weapons is something impossible to accept. But also the situation in Palestine did not get positive developments, and the peace process is one impasse. Awful world we are living. But, Mr. President, dear colleagues, it is a real grey world. But there is also, unfortunately, just few examples of hope. The inter-religious dialogue that is increasing after important meeting in Kazakhstan or in a few days in Bahrain. Use the sports as a key to united people will happen during the World Cup of football in Qatar, where the stadiums were built to be zero carbon emissions, and some of them will be given to developing countries. The participation of youth people in politics is increasing, and their parliamentary representation is increasing. The representation of women in parliaments is also increasing, and you know our IPU give a lot of attention to that, not just with words, but also to help the empowerment of women and with good examples. I don't know if you have noted, the last assembly before the pandemic happened in Kigali, in Belgrade, Serbia. And we have there a woman Speaker of Parliament. After the pandemic, we met in Madrid, and we have a woman Speaker of Parliament. Then, we went to Nusa Dua, Indonesia, and we have a woman Speaker of Parliament. Now we are in Kigali, Rwanda, and we have a woman Speaker of Parliament. Next March, we will go to Bahrain, and we have a woman Speaker of Parliament. And after it, we may go to Rwanda, Angola, and we have a woman Speaker of Parliament again. You see, we need to support, because they are so few, that they need the support of IPU to multiply. And one day, maybe the majority of speakers will be women as well. And allow me to give the example of Rwanda, where more than 61% of members of the Chamber of Deputies are women. Congratulations, Madam Speaker. And this is the background of our Assembly. And so I need to say, I hope that the spirit of Rwanda may influence the work of our Assembly. A country that suffered something impossible to imagine just 28 years ago. I understood that reconciliation and dialogue is key to achieve peace, economic and social development, and this is the key of the success of Rwanda. If you have any doubts, I may invite you to visit the Genocide Memorial here in Kigali, as I did 2 days ago. And after it, work a little bit on the streets of Kigali. You will understand that people of Rwanda learn with their past and decide to do different and to build a new country. All of us should learn with the past. Ban Ki-moon said, the former UN Secretary General, we, international community, failed in Rwanda. All of you, all of us, are world leaders. We must not fail again. That's why we are here. We should work together with dialogue to identify solutions to the problems of our world, to promote a better life to the people we represent, to let a better, peaceful, inclusive and sustainable world to our children. So please, start to work and just stop after achieve the results we are looking for. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Right Honorable President of IPU, for your remarks. I now have the distinct honor to invite our guest of honor, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, to deliver his remarks. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Right Honorable Duarte Pacheco, President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Martin Chungong, Secretary General, speakers and members of Parliament, senior officials, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to join you for the opening of the 145th Inter-Parliamentary Union Assembly. I welcome you all and thank the organizers for choosing our country as the host of this meeting. All over the world, parliaments exist to protect the interests of citizens. This objective cannot be met without the full and active participation of women in our parliaments, especially in leadership positions. Despite steady gains, inequality between women and men continues to be widespread. Setting quotas takes us a step closer to equal representation, but does not address the full spectrum of inequalities in parliaments and in our society at large. Gender equality is better achieved when we acknowledge that it is a right for everyone, everywhere. Women are the backbone of resilient and peaceful societies. We need strong legal and policy frameworks in place with an emphasis on implementation and results. In Rwanda, women played a critical role in the liberation struggle. Women remain a fundamental part of Rwanda's transformation journey, with many participating in peacekeeping operations across the African continent. Context matters, and there are no quick fix solutions to build inclusive communities. One thing, however, is certain. The fight against gender inequality is a shared responsibility, and men have a duty to speak up and not just be bystanders. This is particularly important to combat the negative perceptions of some men who sustain the status quo. Allow me to conclude by reiterating the role of parliaments in the fight against genocide ideology. Genocide denial and revisionism are fast becoming a growing threat to peace and security globally. Social media is partly responsible, but the truth is that hate speech and misinformation have existed for a long time. Collaboration between parliaments is needed. To work on all these challenges, to criminalize all forms of dehumanization and racism worldwide. I have to state here that the topical issues you selected, peace, democracy, and cooperation, are very important. There is no individual country, there is no region, there is no part of this world that can claim to have it all. It starts with working on democracy, working for peace. If we don't do it through cooperation, I don't think we can achieve anything. We see problems, as stated earlier, in some parts of Africa. While one is thinking that this is confined to Africa, you immediately realize that other parts of the world are going through similar challenges that affect peace, that affect democracy. What a better way then can we think of to find solutions than through cooperation? I think we need to work together more and not have people who assume that they have it all and they can tell others what they should be doing. It doesn't work like that. It's not the reality of this world we live in, all of us. Solidarity in the fight against genocide ideology, however, is much more than enacting laws. It is about recognition of our shared humanity for the betterment of our societies and the protection of future generations. I hope you will take this message with you in your discussions in the coming days and in your daily work as we strive to work together all the time. Once again, I thank you for honoring us with choosing our country to host this meeting. You are most welcome. I urge you to feel at home, and I hope you will enjoy your stay with us. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your address to this august assembly. We have now come to the end of today's ceremony that will be concluded with a group photo. Once again, Mr. President, we are honored for the time you have spent with us today. To our distinguished guests, we wish you a pleasant stay in Rwanda, your home away from home. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now rise as the guest of honor departs. Colleagues from protocol will guide presidents and speakers of parliament for the group photo. We kindly ask everyone else to remain in the room.